Happens, our weekly Facebook Live show from the 9 Health Fair. And today we are going to talk about heart health as we wrap up Heart Health Month. And we're at Rocky Mountain Pediatric Cardiology, which is next to Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children. I'm with Dr. Doug Christensen. We'll talk to him in just a moment. First, I want to remind you we do this show every week at 11 a.m. on Facebook. And last week we were talking to one of our 9 Health Fair volunteers, a phlebotomist, and she's a medical coordinator this year, about the need for phlebotomists and people who are skilled at drawing blood. So if you're interested in volunteering, go to 9healthfair.org, and you can see all of the available positions there and help out. And if you want to register for the fair, 9healthfair.org is the place to go, and click on Find a Fair. But, so those are coming up in April. We're still in February. It's still Heart Health Month. And I just wanted to meet with you today. You're a pediatric cardiologist. So let's talk about kids' heart health. And there are kids that are born with congenital heart defects in Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children and Rocky Mountain Pediatric Cardiology. They have a program as those kids grow up and become adults to keep their hearts healthy. Talk about the care that you provide those children.
Sure. So one of the big issues now is that kids that are born with heart defects, have heart defects, get them repaired, are growing up. And so they are what we call adults with congenital heart disease. And with surgical techniques getting better, technology getting better, people living longer, there are actually now more adults with congenital heart disease than there are kids with congenital heart disease. And they carry with them a whole different set of problems, and as kids grow up, things change. So we've started what we call an adult congenital cardiology program to follow these kids once they become adults and look at those unique problems that they have when they get older that we typically don't deal with in kids. So we have a new partner that we've hired that actually has a special training in adult congenital cardiology as well as pediatric cardiology.
Yes.
That's going to kind of run that clinic and following those kids into adulthood.
Nice. So will it be based here on this campus? And
Mostly based here, yes.
Okay. What kind of issues do people see if they're born with a congenital heart disease, congenital heart defect? What do they see as they get older?
Well, they can have a lot of things, and that really depends on kind of what their heart defects are, how they were repaired. But they can run into problems with electrical problems, heart rhythm problems. They can run into heart failure problems that we typically don't see in kids, or different kinds of arrhythmias. So it's just a spectrum of things that change as they become adults that we typically don't deal with in kids.
Okay, and then just talking about kids, for kids that aren't born with congenital heart defects, CHD, what kind of things should parents do to help keep their kids' hearts healthy?
So that's a great question and pretty simple answer. There's really two things, which is having them eat right and having them get out and exercise. Those are by far the two most important things that kids can do to keep their hearts healthy. Because kids that don't have heart defects typically don't have heart problems.
Right.
We don't worry about heart attacks in kids, and we don't worry about heart failure in kids. But what we do worry is that they're going to get that as adults. So that process needs to start when they're kids to have good lifestyle habits, eat right, eat fruits, eat vegetables, lower fats, lower sweets, and probably even more important than that is getting out and exercising. It's less time on their phones, more time outside playing, and keeping active.
Yeah, and Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children, they've partnered with the American Heart Association. They have these Go cards, which they will post on their website eventually, but these have been handed out at schools and things, and it's just a fun way, I'm going to see if I can pull some out here, to get some ideas for things to do. Let's see. That's the first one.
That's the Joker.
That's the Joker. So is this kind of like a wild card thing? Like you...
Yeah, I think you pick a random card.
Here we go. How about team juggling? Stand in a circle of 5 more people, throw an object to the same person. So it's just ideas for getting outside if you're a parent at home with your kids and you kind of get stuck on ideas of things to do with them or want things to do on the weekends with them. These are good ways to get outside and do different do different exercises.
Passing out those at the schools. I think my daughter actually came home with a pack from her school.
Nice. Draw a box in the driveway. This is a Foursquare tournament, so all of us have played Foursquare.
We do that at our house.
Okay, just some fun ideas. So this is a great idea to kind of come up with, and you can probably come up with some on your own as well. And I should reference what's behind us too. This is an echocardiogram.
Correct.
So if you haven't had heart trouble, you might not even know what this is. I don't think I've ever had one of these done. So what do you kind of look for when you are doing an echo?
So this is a study we perform on kids that come in and we're worried about heart defects. So let's say a child comes in with a heart murmur that just doesn't sound right, and we think there is some kind of a heart defect there. We would perform an echocardiogram, which is essentially just an ultrasound of the heart, to look for different heart defects and see if we can diagnose this with anything. And then we also use this for kids that we follow that have had surgical repair of their defects, things that we follow. That's one of our main tools to follow those kids as they grow up.
And then for kids who've never had trouble with their heart, what are some things parents should look for as far as early warning signs their kid might be having trouble? just to kind of things to keep an eye on.
Sure, and so that changes kind of depending on the age. For babies and toddlers, one of the things we worry about if there's kind of poor weight gain, kids aren't feeding well or eating well, or they're just getting a lot more tired than they seem that they should, kind of fatigue with exercise, things like that, could be a sign that there's a problem. Older kids, when we worry about other kinds of heart problems like teenagers and things, so we see a lot of kids for chest pains, but really chest pains kind of with exercise is one of the things that kind of puts up a lot of red flags and that we worry about. Kind of fainting like during strenuous exercise. While those problems are rare, those are some of the things that we get concerned about in the older kids.
Okay, and then when should kids have things like their cholesterol checked? Is that really just if there's a concern that's brought up?
So it's not. So in the last years, that's changed actually. So the American Heart Association has actually started recommending that cholesterol screening begin at age 10.
Oh, wow.
That kids, when they turn 10, at least initially, should have a cholesterol test done to look for any signs of genetic cholesterol abnormalities, more than just the things that are required later on. So 10 years old is really the new time when they're supposed to be having their first cholesterol screen. And I'm pretty sure that's not done across the board, but it's something that is recommended at this point.
Any other screenings that are different now, or that kids should be getting just to investigate for heart health?
Mostly just kind of their blood pressure that they get checked at their regular pediatrician, yearly visits, and the cholesterol. There's not a lot of kind of lab tests and things that we do in kids, other than that. And that also changes if there's family history of problems or heart things. If there's a family history of early heart attacks or really high cholesterol, then they screen those kids kind of more often.
Okay, and then for the rest of us, that aren't kids anymore with grown hearts, I know you're a pediatric cardiologist, what are some general things that we all need to be doing just to keep our hearts healthy as we do age?
Right. So it actually doesn't change a whole lot with adults and kids. It's getting out and exercising. Active lifestyle is probably the highest benefit you can get from any kind of changes in your life, and eating right, eating fruits, eating vegetables, and keeping your weight down. Those are things that really just promote heart health. For adults, obviously, not smoking, things like that, that we don't deal with in the little kids.
Right.
But it's eating right and exercising is by far the two most important things anybody can do really for their heart health.
Is there any message you want to tell parents or any adults out there as far as taking care of their heart and things, like one message you want to drive home for them?
I think it's getting kids outside and exercising would probably be by far the biggest thing we could convince parents to do. Less Fortnite and more outside running around playing is
playing Fortnite outside.
No, not even. Just putting down the phones, putting down the devices, and getting outside and running and playing and exercising.
Foursquare, using the go-karts.
There you go. Every day, just being active and and that's for the long-term heart health. That's by far the best thing we can do.
Right. And are there any questions that we're getting from Facebook? If you do have a question, you can post it here and we'll answer it as well later. But I do want to mention, for adults specifically, the 9 health fairs, they start next month. We have a few starting, and then mostly in April. But a new screening this year is HSCRP, specifically for adults, not pediatric or kids, and you won't get it here, but you can get it at the 9 health fair. It is a blood draw, and it measures inflammation and can look for indicators of heart disease. So it's a good test to do, good screening to do for heart health as the 9 health fairs approach. And if there's not any questions from Facebook, I think we will sign off here. And thank you so much for joining us
You're
today.
welcome. Happy to do it.